So firstly we want to look at loft. Okay, we see in our irons throughout the set we normally have a 3 to 4 gap between each club, and we want to keep that consistent all the way through to our wedges to ensure that our distances are consistent through the whole bag. Nextly, we want to look at the bounce of the club, and bounce is, we mark all our wedges with effective bounce. Okay, you can see this here, this is the 5807. An effective bounce is a combination of the measured bounce angle, which is where the sole meets the ground. It's a combination of the measured bounce, the sole width, the camber or the amount of roundness or curvature on the sole, and also what type of grind the club has. And this here is the S grind. We can see we've got some material taken out of the heel and also the trailing edge. So bounce is going to help reduce the club digging, okay, that leading edge digging in the turf. So we need to decide on a bounce which is going to complement our style, our attack angle of how the club comes into the ground. Or we match our bounce to the turf conditions that we play at. So typically on a harder, dry course conditions, we'd look for a low to mid bounce. And if the course is a little softer or a little bit more moisture, we'd look for a mid to high bounce.
Okay, so with the L grind that we have here, we have this available in a 58 degree and a 60 degree with 04 bounce in this one in effective bounce. So for this type of club, it's going to be well suited to somebody who's shallow into the ball. They're not too steep with their angle of attack, so a shallow or a small divot taker, and someone who likes to lay the club open. Being a 58 or a 60, it's definitely designed as that high lofted sand wedge or lob wedge for the player. So it's going to be for the player who likes to lay that club nice and wide open, as well as when they play it square to hit that flop shot or lob shot around the green. So when we have a look at the T grind versus the L, we can see that it's quite similar in appearance. We have the relief out of the back, the relief out of the heel, the relief out of the toe. All those things are going to help us when we want to adjust the club face and try and hit a little bit of a higher shot or adjust it somehow from our standard shot. The difference that we have here with our 62 degree that we have in our T grind is that we have a little bit more bounce. We have 8 degrees of effective bounce on this one. So with this one, it's going to be for that medium angle of attack player. Perhaps somebody who's a little bit on the steeper side, particularly if they have trouble opening the face up. This one can also, being a 62 degree, it has a lot of loft. So if the player, as long as they're not too steep into it, we can get that player and they can just play this one square and go ahead and use the loft to be able to get the height and the spin that they're sometimes struggling for around the greens. A look at our S grind when we compare it to the T and the L, we can see that a lot less has been taken out of the trailing edge. We don't have any taken out of the toe here in relief, and less out of the heel in terms of relief. So this one is going to be better suited to the player that likes to play with a little bit of a squarer club face and maybe open it just a little bit. Whereas the T and the L, we're going to see it open up a lot more. So another thing that's going to help for this player is sometimes we'll get the player that likes to just lay the club face back a little rather than open it up to add loft. So it's going to be a lot of that straightforward chip, a little open or a little back, sort of straight back, straight through, a little bit more that player that likes to keep things nice and simple around the greens. So we have the M grind available in the 5610, 5410, 5808 and the 6008. So this is one of our more versatile soles in that, again, we have relief out of the trailing ribbon hip, not as much as we saw out of the T and the L, as it's not designed to have the same sort of shots with it. A little bit less out of the heel, a little bit less out of the toe, but all the way through. So with the mid grind, we're able to hit all those shots, but when we have a look on the end here, we can see we've got a little bit more bounce. So it's going to suit the player that's a little bit steeper into the ball than, say, the T or the L. So when we look at the F, we can see not a lot's been done here on the sole. Just a little piece out of the trailing ribbon here just to help it out of the turf on those longer shots. So the F is our full grind, and this one's designed for being played with a square face. So we'll see this in most of our lower lofts and also in our high bounce sand wet options for that player that likes to play it nice and square. We have 2 bounce options in the gap wedge, whether we have a shallow player or a steeper player. The steeper player in the 54 and the 56 option also. The last of them. So this is a new grind for us, something that's only been offered through Tour Vokey design before, so it's a new one to our standard lineup out there for SM5. We can see, compared to the others, a lot wider in terms of the sole width here. Got 11 degrees of effective bounce, so a really good club for that player that likes to hit down on the ball a little bit steeper. That wider sole and extra bounce is going to make it slide through the turf really well, and an excellent bunker club for those type of players too.
Thanks everyone for watching this video. If you've got any more questions or looking for some information about any of the Titleist brands, please visit titleist.com.my. Thanks for watching.